Shenjtorët e Shqipërisë, një podcast në Shqip, ku do të njohim kush janë shenjtorët e ditëve të mëvonshme në Shqipëri e kudo në botë.
Në këtë podcast do të kemi bashkë bisedime me të ftuar, ku do t'i përgjigjemi pyetjes: çfarë do të thotë për ty të jesh një shenjtor i ditëve të mëvonshme?
Unë jam Mirë.
Dhe unë jam Enida Rama Alushaj. Mirë se erdhët.
Le të fillojmë. Hello friends and welcome to Shenjtorët e Shqipërisë podcast, an Albanian language podcast where we explored who are the Latter-day Saints in Albania and around the world. This is episode 70. I am your host, Mirë, and I'm here with my co-host, Enida Rama Alushaj. Hello, Enida.
Hello, Johnny. Hello, dear friends. I'm so grateful to be here with this new episode. We are so grateful for your support, and we invite you to support us by watching our podcast and go on YouTube and share it with your friends. And please continue to support us by subscribing to our channel and invite others to do so.
Absolutely. I can join to that invitation if you have any interest about being part of a podcast team. We are continuously looking for new members of our team to support us into this great cause. So we will share more about this at the very end of this episode. But without further ado, Enida, would you like to introduce us, our next guest?
I would love to. Our new guest is Courtney Rose. She grew up in Salt Lake City suburbs with deep Latter-day Saints pioneer roots and never planning on a mission until a powerful answer to a prayer led her to serve in Albania from 2007 to 2009, an experience that still shapes her every day. After returning home, she studied graphic design and worked in design and motion graphics, married, and later left the corporate world to raise her children while building a successful business she ran for 10 years before selling it. In 2020, she carried a baby with trisomy 18, who lived a few sacred months, an experience that profoundly reshaped her faith and rebuilt her testimony from the ground up. Today, she's a mom of two neurodivergent kids, a lifestyle creator, a content creator, and an aspiring product manager who openly shares her journey through faith, grief, motherhood, and personal growth. Welcome, Courtney. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you, Anita. It's so nice to meet both of you today.
Yeah. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. It's been a long time coming. And I know that there's going to be a lot of saints listening to this podcast and be inspired about your story, your life's journey, your faith, and particularly about your mission, because that's what ties you with the Albanian saints. So without further ado, I just want to dive deep into your roots, Courtney. So would you like to tell us more about how is it been born into the Salt Lake suburbs, and how was the childhood, if you want to share something?
Sure. So my childhood, I was born and raised in Utah. Both of my parents, we have lines going way back, with like the Mormon heritage, all of that. But I had 6 siblings, I had 5 sisters, 1 brother, and I had a really good, amazing ward where I got to build a really strong group of friends that all had similar beliefs, and I loved young women. And I really did have a pretty like church-centered childhood and teenhood and all of that, but I really never thought about going on a mission. They really didn't encourage girls. At that time, we couldn't go until we were 21. And so it really was never on my radar. So like you kind of said in my bio, it kind of hit me out of nowhere. But just to stay in kind of that early part of my life, I just feel very blessed to have had the gospel in so early on in my life, and I think it kept me from getting into a lot of trouble in my teenage years and just kind of kept me from any like heartaches or totally destroying my life, because I just I for the most part kept all those church standards, and I am grateful for them. I feel like I'm a curious person, so who knows where life would have taken me without it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is truly a privilege to have the gospel at the very early years of your lives, because it kind of lays the foundation of what your life will look like. We say this very often, Anita and I, because we weren't born into the church. We didn't have the gospel in our primary age, for example, and we kind of yearn that. But we hope to give that opportunity to our future children. And I just think like the gospel at early age does make a huge difference into your life. Obviously, coming from the state of Utah, and especially the Saints of Albania know much more about this, because probably 99% of missionaries are from that state. Could you tell us something different, maybe, that you want to share about Utah, maybe some concept that people don't know about?
Yeah, I think that maybe a lot of people think just everyone is LDS and that it's so easy to find friends of the same faith and stuff. And while I was growing up, I did have a lot of those close ties and friends that had my same standards. But I was talking to my husband the other week, and really right now, besides the new friends I've made in my ward and stuff, my childhood friends, none of them really go to church or have like continued to follow the gospel and stuff. And I actually think that it's almost like 50-50 now in Utah, where there's been a lot of people that have like migrated into Utah from California, and their relationship with the church can ebb and flow. And I think right now, I don't think people realize like how diverse it actually is. Even though there are a ton of LDS people here, it actually is pretty diverse. And yeah, I think that's probably what I would say. Not to talk too long on that point, but
yeah, you definitely shine some light into, what we are taught or maybe watch on TV. It's definitely different. And I'm grateful that obviously the state does produce some wonderful, Latter-day Saints, and especially missionaries, because I know that they do go and travel around the world. So it's truly a blessing. I just wanted to touch something in terms of your family history. We've been told that you have a family connection to the late President Gordon B. Hinckley. Could you share more about this?
Oh, yeah. So my dad, his mother her name was Beulah Hinckley, and they were first cousins. So her dad and Gordon B. Hinckley's dad were brothers. And actually, her dad's name was Alonzo Hinckley, and he was actually in the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, but his name's not very well known because he was only in the Quorum of the 12 for a short time. So yeah, technically my great grandpa was also in the Quorum of the 12. But yeah, Gordon B. Hinckley was her first cousin. And when I was on my mission is when Gordon B. Hinckley passed and my grandma passed. And they were like the last two cousins kind of that generation. And she was always like, is he going to die first? Am I going to die first? They were both like very old. But yeah, so yeah, I do have a tie. And I think that was also the prophet of like my youth years. And I feel like he liked to talk to the youth a lot. He gave some really beautiful talks and guidance. So yeah, I have a fond place in my heart for him. I didn't know him personally because such a huge family, but yeah.
I love President Hinckley, and it's so incredible that you guys are related. I don't know, I think it's an honor to have someone like that on your family roots. But I'm sure your grandma and all of your family must be wonderful. You seem so, I don't know, cheerful and a good person to be around.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think in Utah, everyone seems to be related to someone or another. So I do probably forget how special that is to have like such stalwart church like leadership and things that just kind of get passed on through the generations and just set that precedent of what we believe, and this is how we live, and those testimonies of, mothers that get passed down to their children and fathers. And yeah, I think for a long time, you do live off those testimonies of other people. So
yeah, you're right.
Put to the test.
Well, you mentioned that during when he died, you were on your mission. So I would love to know about your mission, because you told us that you never planned to serve a mission. How did it happen that you went on a mission? Tell us a bit about it.
Sure. So I had been in school because at that time we couldn't go until we were 21. I wasn't considering a mission at all. I had finally decided I knew what I was going to study, which was graphic design. So I was studying graphic design. I was at a university a couple hours away from my family, and I had decided to go on a study abroad, which was going to be in Switzerland. And it was just right before I was going to go on the study abroad during the summer that I was in my room. I think I had broken up with a boyfriend or something. And I was just kind of like saying a little prayer, should I go back to Utah State, the university I was attending? Or like, what should I do after the study abroad? And this little voice was just like, kind of go on a mission. And I was like, just out of nowhere, it was almost audible. And I was like, no. And almost like opened my eyes out of my prayer, and I just closed my eyes again. And I was like, and it was just like the thought just came right back into my mind. And I went on a little walk and I called one of my friends and I was like, I don't know. But I feel like that little thought, those thoughts that come to our minds when we're saying a prayer, I feel like we really should listen to those. And anytime a thought just pops into my head when I say a prayer, I always try to really listen to those. And so I went on my study abroad and I had it in the back of my head the whole time. And when I came home, I told my parents, like, I'm going to go on a mission. And they were pretty caught off guard. They were like, oh, that would have been nice to know. And I turned in my papers that summer and I left in October. And so it was like pretty quick. That was October 2007. I left right before Halloween, and Albanian is such a difficult language that you guys have. I was in the MTC for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and then I got to Albania just like the second week of January in 2008. And what a good way to start the year.
That seems like incredible. I think your parents must have been in shock, like you too,
Yeah.
maybe it was unplanned.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wasn't planned. I was the first daughter to go. I'm the third oldest in my family. So, my oldest sister was married. So, she didn't go on a mission. My brother served in Honduras. And then my dad I was like his first daughter that was going to go on a mission. And he just wanted me to, go somewhere safe and close. And so when I opened my call, at first I thought it said Alabama is my mind, for that like split second. And I was like a little bit disappointed. And then I realized it said Albania, and no one in my house knew where it was. My dad thought he was going to have a heart attack. We didn't know anything about it. But I mean, if you start looking up on Google, everything was like, oh, it's one of the safest countries for like American tourists. At least that's what it said at the time. And as we started to like talk to people and find people who had been, everyone felt really good about it. And I just really felt like I struck the lottery. Like Albania really is so cool. So
It is. How was it to come to a different place like Albania for you? How was your mission here? Did you have any cultural shock or something? What did Albania mean to you during those 2 years, a year and a half?
Well, I'll say when I got there, I was terrified because the language didn't come super easy to me. When I was in the MTC, there was no other sisters going to Albania, so I was all by myself. I had like a Hungarian companion, but she would go to the Hungarian classes during the day. And then when we got to Albania, I still hadn't met my companion yet. So it was like me, there was like 7 elders, and they took us to the Chunder in Tirana. And they're like, yeah, just do some street contacting. And I could not understand anything. I was like, Chakemi, Siani. I don't know why they took us there to get some fresh air. But yeah, mission experience, my first two companions were Americans. I don't know if anyone will know Motra Armstrong. She was the biggest smile, like the brightest light. She was so amazing. I will get emotional now, but she's since passed away from cancer several years ago. But she's like the best mission trainer you could have had. And so that was when we served in the Tirana 1st and 3rd branch in that Ali Demi area. Loved that area. So many of the members, I still think about every day. I pulled this old coat out the other day, and it reminded me of a woman named Zamira, who was up in 1st branch. And I don't know if Zamira still is active, but like Zamira. And then I'm like, oh, she was such good friends with Mimika. Oh, Mimika playing the piano. And I hope that members know, like, even if we're not able to keep in touch, like, I still think about the members all the time. And those two aren't on Facebook. They were probably in their 40s at the time, maybe 50s. And I don't think they're very tech savvy or anything, but yeah, I still think of like the members and the branch presidents and even the people who maybe only came to church a few times with us. I just, like, when I think of each area, I just think of all the members that I knew there. And I still feel like when I was in those 1st and 3rd branches, I didn't know the language very well, but there was just such a warmth and welcoming from the members that I always appreciated. And then when I went to Durris, let's see, who was my first companion? Motra Jafari, Mirë, who I'm sure people who listen to the podcast probably know who she is. She was wonderful. Was my first Albanian companion. And then if people know Alma Osmani, she was like still technically in high school at the time, but they didn't have enough missionaries to match everybody up and to cover all the sister missionary zones. So I got to serve with Sister Osmani and Motra Sirachi, so Osmani was still like in high school, and they let her come and serve with me for 6 weeks. Motra Sirachi came and served with me for 6 weeks, and she was like a doctor already, but she was like a single sister. So she came and served with me. And I, again, love, like, I think of all the people when I was looking back through those pictures that I met in Durris and got to know, and just like beautiful. Oh, people. Oh, I could tell you one thing about Durris. Stop me if you have another question. But so in my patriarchal blessing that I got before my mission, I did have my mission call when I got my patriarchal blessing. I got it pretty late. And part of my patriarchal blessing, it mentioned bringing sons and daughters to the gospel, that I would like meet sons and daughters. And then when we got to Albania, the sisters were like very not encouraged to like meet with the men, especially men of same age and stuff like that. So I was like, well, that's weird. How will that come to fruition? But we taught a sister in Durris, and her little brother actually would join in all the lessons and was very enthusiastic. And he never got baptized while I was there. But fast forward years later, do you guys know Joseph Pietri?
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell? Yeah, I haven't seen or heard about what he's up to for a long time, but yeah, he ended up getting baptized, I heard later, and we just
served a mission too.
Yeah, he served a mission. He actually came to my house here for dinner once. He stopped by with somebody, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, just, I don't know, just that part of my patriarchal blessing that said the part about sons. And then I'm like, how's that ever going to happen? And then it did happen. And it just seems like, everything, there's a divine hand in everything.
You're right. Definitely it is. Many, I think you should have many stories, so many good memories from your mission.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that you remember people. But is there a moment, a special moment that comes to mind to you besides like something that left a mark, let's say, from your mission?
Yeah, let's see. Trying to think. I mean, overall, the experience as a whole was like pretty life-changing. There was a time when I did serve in Durris that I remember just feeling like pretty low. Pretty honestly, I was probably like started getting like homesick. The whole time I was in Durham, we never had any baptisms. And I was there for probably like 9 months of my mission. We didn't have baptisms. The elders didn't have baptisms. And you're just like going through those motions. It was hot Albanian summer. Like it was hot. And you have to be outside doing stuff all day. We lived on the 8th floor behind Blue Star, and the elevator never worked. And so just like, every time we left and came home, it was like so many stairs and it was so hot. Anyway, I was like feeling pretty low. And I do remember they even had a doctor from Germany call me up and like, have a chat with me because I was just like feeling pretty low. And the doctor was like, well, maybe I like answered the questions well enough that he didn't think I needed any special help. But I feel like shortly after that, there was like a little moment where I really feel like I felt like the Savior was like still there with me and I was doing the right thing and gave me kind of like the next boost of energy to kind of keep going. But yeah, I feel like the times of my mission where I felt the Savior the closest were probably when it just got hard and it felt like nothing, like, am I doing anything that matters? Like no one's getting baptized. People come and then they like disappear and they ghost us. And, but I feel like those times I would feel my Savior close, and we were planting those seeds that later, like Joseph Pietri, and then also, oh my gosh, I cannot, Claudia. Why her name was slipped me for a second, but Claudia, we taught her like the whole time I was there, and she never got baptized. But now she has since gotten baptized. She's also served a mission, and I just think it's important for me to remember also that sometimes when we work, it looks like we are getting nowhere and doing nothing, but things are still happening,
It's
And
right. It's
I think
right.
it's a big lesson I kind of took away from my mission, because both of those two didn't get baptized until I had been home for some time. But I still remember meeting Claudia and her mom on the street outside of Blue Starry. So, oh yeah, there she is. There we are, little babies. And yeah, her mom, I think, was a little bit like, who are these people talking to us? And we're like, can we come? We'll teach you guys English and share a little message. And yeah, we taught her English for a long time. And I'm like astounded at how much English she learned. And yeah, Claudia's amazing.
I know. I love her. Actually, we invited her a few months, so
Oh,
she's a guest. Maybe you haven't seen it yet. You can see her podcast.
no, I will go listen to that for sure. Oh my gosh, I would love to listen to her podcast. I wonder if she remembers that I was the person who met her on the street.
Oh, for sure. For sure. She loves the sisters and the missionaries in
Oh,
general. She's
she's
such
so
a sweet
sweet. She
soul.
is so sweet.
Well, you told us that you served in Honduras, in Tirana, but maybe quickly you can tell us other places or all the places that you serve and what what are you grateful for each experience on those places?
Yeah, so in Durrës, I was not very happy to go to Durrës at first because I felt like I finally felt a little comfortable in Tirana, and then they sent me to Durrës. I was like, okay. And then for a while, they kept switching my companions, and my companions would leave, but I was still there and felt like nothing was happening. And I was like, well, put me somewhere new because I feel like I've done all I can here. Just put me somewhere new. But then when it was actually time to leave, by the time it was time to leave, I was like so invested in Durrës and the people we were teaching, and baptisms felt so close. I was so sad when they moved me back to Tirana for just the last two transfers of my mission. But again, then I met and fell in love with people in those last 6 weeks. And every time I would like move somewhere, I was like so sad to be leaving one place. And then I would totally fall in love with the next place and then move to the next place and totally fall in love. Um, I feel like, so when I came back to Tirana, that was the end of my mission. I knew like my time was short and running out. I had a really hard time coming to Tirana because I finally didn't want to be pulled out of Durrës at all. But we met really incredible people. I hadn't had any baptisms for a long time in Durrës, but yeah, we taught like Sister Chuchi, Eddie Chuchi's mom. She was really incredible to teach. I don't know. There was a sister the elders were mostly teaching, Ina, Mercochi, just like so many people. I just think of all the people and how much they taught me and just being with their spirits and watching them kind of have all those aha moments is really life-changing. And I really don't judge or blame anyone that finds a church and isn't able to fully hold on to everything, because I do think without all the structures I had in place my whole life, who's to say that if I would have found it in my 20s, I might not have, picked it up and stuck with it perfectly. But I think just having the faith that they like understand those things, and as life goes on, maybe they'll come back, or maybe in the next life they knew it and they loved it and they'll be able to like re-accept it again. Because it is hard to kind of see people you invest so much in and know that they don't always stick with it the whole time, and you were there in the lessons and how strong the spirit was and everything. But I just think it's so impressive how many strong Albanian members there are and like what you guys have been able to do when you don't have all of like the same supports, if that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. You guys are amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely give a
I don't know if I made any sense in saying that, or you can delete all of it if you want.
No, it was great. It was absolutely great. What I was going to say is we definitely give credit to the missionaries as well, because they sort of brought the light of the gospel into our lives. Being born into a country that, previously we didn't even have any religion. Religion was prohibited. Coming out from the shell, in a way, and being introduced to this brand new gospel, the majority of us, Christianity as well. It's just a very difficult thing, but I think the missionaries played an important part into making the gospel easier for us to accept and embrace it. And I think that most of the credit goes to you guys, because even though when you go back home, you don't realize that your examples and your faith stays with us and keeps us strong. And just want to thank yourself and many other return missionaries who have played their part into making, these saints of Albania what it is now.
Oh, that's so nice. And I would say like the same thing. I feel like when we go back home, it's such a testimony to us. Like if they can do that without a mom or a dad supporting them, where they're having to get themselves up all by themselves on a Sunday and get dressed and go to church, that's like also such a testimony builder to us of just other people doing it in situations that are just, takes a lot more effort, it seems like. Whereas for me, we all get up together, it's just expected. And if I don't go to church, someone will say something, but for other people I know, maybe no one will say anything to them at all. Maybe someone at church will miss them, but their family's like, oh yeah, you didn't go this morning. We get to have you here. So I know it can be like way more of an effort for some people. And I just think it's amazing.
Absolutely. So Courtney, for the next few minutes, I want to take us to a memory lane. And because I absolutely love photographs, and I think, picture is worth more than 1,000 words. So I guess I'm going to be sharing a couple of pictures from your missionary experience in Albania.
Great.
I want you to just comment on what you remember from it. Okay. Right.
All right. Oh, Izara. Okay, She married Sparty, right? Okay. Yes, I remember her. She was great. So nice. They were in, what branch were they in? Now I can't remember. Not that it matters. But her and Sparty, all of us missionaries were rooting for them the whole time to get married because they were just both such good, beautiful, strong members. Sparty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is his mom still strong
Yes,
and
she is
leading
strong.
music?
Comes to church every week. She's there.
Oh, good. She's one of those that like held everyone together. She's wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what's next. Oh, see? Look, all these beautiful faces. The sisters, Ina down on the bottom with the short hair. I think she might be in Greece or something. But Alma, oh, I think Baleshi girls. Oh, and Eddie's mom. Oh, oh, I love seeing all the faces. That's so lovely. I think that this might have been taken like the night, like the last night of my mission, like when they did like a little farewell type party at the mission president home. And so everyone came to say goodbye to those missionaries. Oh, yeah. Eddie. Oh, his mom. Yes. Love them. I remember getting her to stop drinking coffee was like the biggest thing we ever did. Shit, like almost killed her trying to stop. Okay, I do not remember the sister's name. I do not remember her name. I don't think I knew her very well.
She watches this podcast, probably. She will reach out.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Do you know who she is? Does she look familiar to either of you?
She looks, but I don't think maybe I've seen her on social media. I don't know, but I don't think I've met her.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly.
We might find her though.
Yeah. Reach out. I think she was someone who I know that I never like taught her one-on-one and things like that, or else I would for sure remember her. But yeah. Oh, Motra Cherma. Yeah, she was starting to get sick while I was there. We took her to the doctors a couple times. And she was funny because she was like very well connected. And when we went to the hospital, there was all these people like waiting in line, and she just kind of like gave a little nudge, and she like knew the doctor on like a firsthand basis, and they kind of like snuck her back past everyone in the line. But she was great. She loved the missionaries. And I don't remember how long ago she passed away, but she was kind of like Sister Kashari, but of Duras. Like she's just super. I don't know if you guys ever knew of her or knew her, but she was like so stalwart, like a very, very good member in Duras. Went to the German temple many times. She was amazing and loved the missionaries. Oh, do those girls still go to church? These girls are in Duras, these sisters, and I cannot remember their last name for the life of me. But yeah, Motra Jafar, I had taught them before I arrived. And I want to say the two older ones were both baptized. There's another sister that's not in this picture. But they were kind of more like traditional Albanian family. And so the dad's like, the older one on the right got engaged and started having to go to her fiance's family and stuff like that. So, oh, my first area. So that's Motra Armstrong, like the biggest, brightest, most beautiful smile. This was like my first couple months in the mission. I probably still like look like a deer in headlights. Ilona is the one getting baptized. the younger girl, I think her name was Fiore, and she was like a spitfire cracker. Like she had so much energy. But Ilona ended up going on a mission and serving in Temple Square. Um, but yeah, I don't think she ever went back to Albania. And what is her name? Makita? I can't remember her name, but I remember her. And I remember walking to her house and I remember teaching her. She was like the sweetest, sweetest. Oh, see these pictures. Oh, so many memories. That was my only baptism I think we had in Tirana. Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember his sister's name is Blarina, but why is his name escaping me? He's here in like Idaho now. Do you guys know who the Trash Game?
Trash Game.
Yeah, it goes around me.
Yeah, that's Trash Game. And so the elders actually taught him. We taught his sister for a little bit, but they were also like a pretty traditional family. And so the girls didn't have as much of a say in what they got to do or not at the time. But yeah, Trash Game, he was an awesome member. It ended up going on a mission, and now he has a family in Idaho, I want to say.
Mm. Right. So this next one,
You are showing us like the legacy of Albania and old members.
The only part that makes me so sad is how many of them kind of have to leave just because that's where life takes them. And it does break my heart, but I know everyone's doing what they got to do. So,
yeah, absolutely. So there were a lot more photos.
Yeah, you don't have to go through all of them. I know. It's like, I don't remember if you guys wanted like 2 or what. So yeah, no worries.
No, thank you for doing that. I mean, it was quite refreshing for me as well as a return missionary to see how much you value your missionary experiences, the memories that you created there, the relationships, because it's always about that. You know, it's 2 years, a year and a half, but it means the world to you. It means your lifetime. So it is really cool. I just to conclude the slideshow photo, I did find a photo that it's very intriguing. I just want an explanation on this one.
Okay. Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know who took it. Probably my companion. There was a cow in the road, I guess. Maybe I just wanted a picture with the cow is probably what happened. Yeah. But then I was also very afraid I was about to get charged. I wanted to send a picture back home to my family. This is in Durris and kind of just across from the church there. But I think I wanted to just show them like how random it is because it's developed enough to have like cars and all these things, but also, oh, hi, there's a cow walking down the road. Whose cow is this? So yeah, that's funny.
Absolutely.
Good times. Good times.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that. I just wanted to ask you, obviously, it's been many years. It's coming close to, I believe, 20 years since you returned from your mission. What would you say is one thing that you keep close to your heart in terms of like the relationship you created during your mission and the whole experience, as a missionary in Albania? What is it, something that still resonates with you even now?
I've always felt like a responsibility whenever I think about kind of getting lazy about the gospel and things like that. I still kind of feel that missionary responsibility online. A lot of times there might be something I like maybe think is funny to post or something. I'm like, no, like what if an Albanian saw me, one of their missionaries liked that? And I feel like sometimes still feeling responsible to be a good example to the people I served in Albania and with, and not that I like live a secret life that I don't share online or anything, but I think it's helped keep me in check and continue to just like keep my decisions and things in check. I don't know. I still feel a responsibility to the people I served and the things that I told them and to still live true to those things myself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Agree with that. It's definitely trying to keep those relationships alive. And I think
Mhm.
prior to the recording of this episode, you told us that you've been to Albania, and
Mhm.
it's just wonderful to see that many missionaries who serve there, they come back and spend time. Maybe they bring their families, their new families who they created, and it's just wonderful to see that they have never forgotten the place that they've served. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it would be impossible. My dream is to bring my kids back and to just spend a summer in southern Albania and just let them experience that culture.
Oh yeah, I bet they're gonna love it. They won't. They don't want to leave for
Yes.
once they see it. Wonderful.
Yeah, until they want McDonald's or something again, and then they'll be like, "We're ready to go home." Just kidding.
Absolutely.
Uh,
So I just wanted to touch something. After you returned home from your mission, you dove into design, motion
mhm.
graphics, and creativity. So for those who don't know this kind of field, could you explain to us what drew you into this world?
Yeah, so I always kind of liked computers and techie things, and graphic design would be creating visuals. It's like art, but with a purpose. And so it's not just painting pretty pictures, but it's art applied to a lot of like business and marketing and things like that. And then as I started doing design work for different companies, like logos and different marketing touch points, I ended up getting into motion graphics, which is, visual stuff. And now it moves like little cartoon videos, and it could be commercials or little advertisements to just that have motion and words and music and things like that.
Mm.
And I did that for a while and I loved it. And I left it and to raise a family, like you said in my bio. And I don't want to do it anymore. I got burned out. It was really fun while I did it, but it's also changed a lot with AI and things like that. And so
Yeah.
it's a different career than it used to be.
Absolutely. Something that's very fascinating is that you chose to continue to work, chose to build a business from scratch for an entire decade, whilst, obviously raising your children. And I know that, juggling through responsibilities, it is quite demanding and it can be exhaustive. So I just want to know from your perspective, how did you manage to do it all?
I didn't do it all. That's the secret. Nobody really does it all. And I think it's a daily managing of priorities. And some days, one kid was my top priority that was struggling. And on another day, a sell for my business might have been kind of my top priority for that day, but just being flexible with church callings and everything. And I obviously don't love a job more than my kids, but my job feeds my kids and also allows me to pay tithing and things like that bring blessings. And I think God's okay if sometimes we have to prioritize things. And it won't be my same priority every day for forever. But I think the secret is we can't do everything all the time perfectly. And I think that we get a lot of grace and we should give ourselves grace too, because I made plenty of mistakes. There's days that I wish I could go back and maybe reprioritize a little bit differently. But, we don't always have all everything is 2020 in hindsight, they say. Do they have a phrase like that in Albanian? Like everything is 2020 in hindsight. There's like that phrase of 2020 vision, when you look like behind you, everything's perfectly clear what you should have, could have done. But like when you're in it, we don't always know. So I use that to forgive myself for when I could have probably prioritized things in a better order.
Well, I think you did your best. It's so hard to have so many things to do and still go forward and choose what's the most important.
Yeah, and I think that's like everyone really is doing their best. And we're all life can be really hard and complicated. And when you're in those early days of young family and career and stuff, it's really hard to prioritize things.
What we learned from your biography, we learned that you built a business from scratch for many years. Tell us a bit about that.
Sure. So I felt another time that I felt a big prompting was to leave my job. And I was actually making a generous salary for someone who had studied art. I was making a lot more than what I ever expected to make. And I just had like a profound feeling I needed to quit my job. But I've always kind of been a worker and an entrepreneur. So I did start my own business. And quick side note that I think is more like spiritually aligned is I really felt like I needed to quit my job. My son was almost a year old. I just had one kid at the time. And he ended up going on to get an autism diagnosis. And I think it's good that we didn't build up a real lavish life around the salary I had, because it ended up being that I really did need to be home. I needed to have a flexible schedule. I was getting calls all the time from the school because things were going on with him. It took us a long time to get a diagnosis and to understand him and his brain and how he worked. We had a lot of behavioral issues, but I go back a lot of times. I was actually in the temple when that voice came to my mind of, you should quit your job. And I was like, what? Like, no, you should quit your job. And it made no logical sense at the time. But as time has gone on, now I can see why I needed to quit my job. I started this other company that was way more flexible while I raised my son to where now, I mean, he's 11 years old now, but it took us like 10 years to kind of get him stable. And so he was thriving at school and things like that. But yeah, so the business I started was actually for like feminine hygiene. And so we did period underwear, like more eco-friendly options for women's menstrual products. So I don't know if you've ever seen like silicone menstrual cups, period underwear, and things like that. And we started it 10 years ago when it was all still very new and people hadn't heard of these other options. And yeah, we were able to grow it, and it helped provide for my family for a long time, which was really nice in a very flexible way. But definitely a divinely, like a divine gift that became an option during that time of life. And then now we sold the business, and now I'm kind of trying to go back into the corporate world. So kind of just how things work out.
That's amazing. I'm passionate about healthy products and
Oh, cool.
So I love that you helped in that area. It's amazing.
Yeah, they were much more like body friendly products too. So yeah, it was a really cool industry to be in. We really liked it.
Yeah, it's good, like help people, environment, and everything. So it's like a mission, I think. You help people.
Yes, we're on a mission to make it better.
For sure. Well, I would love to know, because you said that you had a child that was neurodivergent. How is this journey for you? What has it taught? If you want to share something about this, because I'm sure we experience this as parents in church, maybe, and I think some people are afraid to talk about it, or they don't know much about it. Can you share what helped you during this time? Because I think it was hard for you to.
Yeah, it was really difficult. When my son was younger, probably around age 2 or 3, it was really difficult to have a child who would have like major outbursts at school with me in public. Like he was just really, really wild and difficult to manage. And oh my gosh, I cried so many tears reading so many parenting books, wanted to know like what I was doing wrong, what I could do better. And eventually, another little spiritual moment, he was actually playing in the basement. And you know the blinds that cover the windows? There's like a little rope cord that hangs from those. And so he had climbed up on the back of a chair and had it around his neck, and he jumped. Well, my husband came in the room and said, "Porter, get down. Like you're going to get hurt." And so he jumped, and the cord like hung around his neck. And then the next day he like couldn't walk normally. He was walking all funny. And so we went to the hospital and they put him in a neck brace and they took him up to the children's hospital. And it was like a whole fanfare. He ended up being fine. There was like swelling on his spinal cord that was making it so it wasn't working. So he was walking funny. Anyway, swelling went down. He went back to normal. But that's actually how we ended up getting his autism diagnosis, because when they were doing the follow-up appointments, they were asking us all these questions. They were like, does your son does he do this? And I was like, yes, but like always, he's always done this, not just since this injury. And because of that happening, we were able to get a whole bunch of answers for what we were actually dealing with that I've been trying to figure out the whole time. But so it was really difficult for a long time. I feel like it was divine intervention that we ended up getting our answers in that way. But it was still really hard to have a kid that I just wanted so bad to change to like fit the mold. And I do feel like I had a spiritual experience one day where I finally was just like, okay, what if it never changes? Like, what if this is as good as it's going to get? And what if it could even like get worse from here? And I feel like just kind of having that thought of not trying to change him into, oh, cute, not having to change him into anyone else and not trying to make him fit a mold, and just accepting him for who he was and how his brain was a big turning point in just being able to be like happy and parenthood be easier again, was just kind of accepting what the reality was. I think for so long, I first didn't have a diagnosis to know what was going on. But, and then even once I had the diagnosis, I just so badly still wanted him to kind of change to make my life easier. But instead, just kind of accepting it for what it was and not waiting until he got better to be happy was pretty big life change for me. I was miserable for a while.
Well,
I don't know if that will speak to anyone's heart, but
well, I'm sure it will. But what you mentioned also before, you said that you got inspired and you had promptings from God, and I think you met God a lot during this time, I guess.
Yes. Lots of prayers of like, please, what do I do with this child? But now it's funny because now life is so much easier, but it really was really hard for a long time. And when you have a kid and who just does not fit the mold and the norms, it can be really, really, really difficult. So my heart goes out to people who are still trying to figure out, what's going on with a kid.
Well, I'm sure that your experience helped other mothers, maybe in your community. And
Yeah. And it's been tricky online to know what to share, knowing that one day he'll be in high school and, what's appropriate to share for my story versus what could embarrass him later. Because he's still like very aware and things like that. He's like a level 1 autism. So he's like high functioning and things like that. So yeah, but I feel like having a community is huge, and having safe places you can talk about things was really helpful.
for sure. Well, you mentioned your husband before, so I would love to know how you met your husband. Maybe you can tell a bit about it, how your journey came till you guys were parents until now.
Yeah. So I actually started hanging out with his friends, and he was out on his mission, and we became good buddies with his friends. He came home from his mission right around the time I had decided to go on a mission. So he was actually at my house when I opened my mission call, because his friends were like, hey, our friend's opening her mission call. Do you want to come by? So he was there, and I didn't even know that or remember that until later on we looked back at pictures, and turns out he was there. But so then he got to know my friends while I was on my mission. So when I got home from my mission, I had always like heard his friends talking about their friend, and I kind of knew him through his friends. And same for him. He like heard about Courtney, who's in Albania, and all this stuff. And then we were finally both back on common ground and hanging out in the same groups. And he finally asked me out on a date, and it just went really fast. Our first date was in April. We got along really fast, really well. It just like clicked. And then we were married by November. So, oh yeah, there's my family. There's my husband, Tyler. This picture is a couple years old, but my son Porter, my daughter Lottie, and then I have a little blanket in my hand, and that's that time for that photo. That's how we included our daughter Junie, who passed away. So that was the first time we had done family pictures without her. And her name was Junie. Porter, Lottie, and Junie.
So beautiful that you included her there. She's part of the family, even though on the other side of the veil, right?
Yes. Yeah. We always try to find little ways to include her. She is our only perfect child. Let's see. Oh yeah. So this is the day we blessed her. So for anyone who's listening, who doesn't know it, it's called trisomy 18. It's the 18th chromosome, and each of your chromosomes is a pair. It has like two. And if you've heard of like Down syndrome, the other name for it is trisomy 21. And on the 21st chromosome, there's like three. And that's why they call it trisomy. The tri is like three. So Junie's was on the 18th chromosome. It duplicated 3 times. And what that meant for her was that like her heart had some holes in it. And the life expectancy is super, super short. They say, okay, she'll probably die before she's born. Okay, well, if she's born, she's going to die within like 24 hours. Oh, well, if she makes it to the first week, now we're only like, 2% of babies, and then she'll die. Oh, and then they basically say almost 100% of babies with this condition will die before their first birthday. And so the odds, we found that out when I was about 15 weeks pregnant with her. We actually went in to do the blood work. I just wanted to know if my baby was a boy or a girl so I could get rid of all of the baby clothes that I had saved from my son or daughter. I was like, okay, I have too much in storage. Let's just find out if it's a boy or a girl. And you can find it out through the blood work earlier than the ultrasound. And then they called us on the phone and told us, because of the blood work, that, okay, she has trisomy 18. And they asked us if we wanted to terminate the pregnancy, was like the first option. And I could not even imagine at that point, because I'd already been pregnant for 15, almost 16 weeks. So, and they said, or you can just wait and see what happens. And I always felt better about that, just kind of putting it in God's hands and letting Junie kind of show us the way. And so that's kind of what we did. So the whole rest of the pregnancy, we never knew how long she would live for, but we knew her life probably would be short. And that was really quite difficult. But she was born she didn't have to have oxygen or anything, but she lived for 4 months. And the only interventions we needed to do was a little feeding tube that went in her nose to help keep her fed. But some of the babies end up having like a lot of different types of interventions, but she didn't end up needing any of that. Ultimately, it was her heart, just the holes in her heart and things that ended up it couldn't sustain her life. So, but yeah, she was our sweetest little baby, Junie Ora Evans. Mm-hmm. The name Ora, or in Albania means time. And like Albania really is so special to me. I also had a great, I can't remember how many greats back it is, grandma, she had 2 babies that she lost, and her middle name was Ora. And so it was a tie to that grandma, and then also Albania. Just the word time and just her short time here and how much she meant to us. Yeah, that was last Christmas. Oh, in her little grave that we always try to keep decorated. And yeah, she was the sweetest little baby.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing this with us. I can only imagine, it might be, really tough to speak about this sort of experiences, especially when it's, includes the loss of a child, coming from a culture that you probably are aware as well, where most of these saints in Albania don't really deal with death that well. They all think that, that's the end of it. There is no point of return. So I guess you being on that front end of that experience and having the gospel always there to support you and to give you guidance, how would you comfort somebody if they were in that state of losing some loved one?
I will be like straight up honest and transparent. When I was like in the depths of that, the last thing I wanted to hear was, "Oh, aren't you so grateful for the plan of salvation?" Because I was like, I don't want my baby when I'm dead. I want my baby right now. And so that was really hard, because I think, in this culture where there were so many people who believe the same things, that's like the easiest thing you can say to someone is like, "Oh, aren't you so glad you'll see her again? You're so glad you have an eternal family." And I am grateful for those things. But at the time, it actually didn't like give me all that much comfort, to be honest. And I just kind of wanted to be in a place of, this really sucks. This is like really hard. And it actually isn't that hard for me to talk about. It's been a while. I've talked about it a lot. For anyone who's lost someone like a baby, you don't get to talk about them that much because they don't go to preschool and kindergarten and have all the other life milestones. So to be able to talk about her is always, honestly, it is nice. But yeah, I think there is comfort, and I've always, even when my faith, I feel like, was shaken in some things, I did always feel like I will see her again. There were times when I was like, but wait, like now I have to like live perfectly to end up in the same place where my perfect daughter is. And then I would start justifying, is any of this true? Like all of this, like, is all of this actually true? Because is there a God that would actually separate me from my baby because I didn't keep the word of wisdom or something? Like those things seemed so trivial in comparison to like this bigger thing. And I think kind of my relationship with the gospel and the commandments and everything kind of evolved into, oh, you're not keeping all these commandments just to like go live with your baby again. That's like not the point of commandments. The commandments, if you follow them, they actually just make your life easier. They save you from like a lot of heartache, addictions, and all sorts of things. This is actually just to make your life easier while you're here, and then one day you'll go and live with your baby again. I think that the bar for families to be together is probably not as like high and impossible to reach as sometimes I think we think it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think like God, there's so much mercy and so much grace, and we're all just doing our best. And the commandments are really to make our lives easier, not to be like vet people out to make sure it doesn't get too crowded in heaven. Like, I don't think that it's like that.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I definitely want to point out is that, yes, of course, grief is no way easier to deal with. The one thing that I find personally that the gospel of Jesus Christ offers us is the perspective that even though things, are terribly going wrong, and we feel like there is an injustice made to us, or there is this hole or gap in our lives, we know that through it all, we know where we are headed, and we know that we have a loving Heavenly Father who can, support us through it all. We can't, we don't have to deal with it on our own. And I believe that in the gospel of Jesus Christ, you can get so much comfort through the Holy Ghost, through lots of other support that you can get through priesthood blessings or other services being made by members of the church. So I think it is truly a lifesaver to have something rather than have nothing at all. And that makes the difference.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, one thing that I want to tie this to is we know that you have a great lifestyle content online. So I've been able to just quickly have a look at your social media. And I also really love the amazing posts that you do, the inspiring messages. I think recently you've been dealing with a fundraiser as well. I just want to give you the time now to speak about like how can people use social media to do good.
Yeah, I think so. Because my daughter had trisomy 18, that's when I got a lot of my followers that came over and started following me. And I've always wanted to kind of share the gospel, but also share it in like a way that was not like, this is like my only thing, like the reason why I'm like talking, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, how could I wrap this up, like, and not blabber on too long? I feel like I just like to show that you can be a member of the church and live like an authentic, organic, normal life that's just fulfilling and that brings me a lot of happiness, without it having to be like my whole personality, if that makes sense. And I feel like sometimes people are surprised to find out I'm LDS. But the people who, because I got followers just kind of from all over the place, not just Utah, I feel like it's been nice for people to see what being Mormon means when maybe if they live like in Kentucky or something, and they've only heard like rumors about like, oh, they're polygamous or something like that. And they just have kind of like an antiquated understanding of our church, and to just see like, oh, they're just like normal people. Oh, they have these standards. Oh, but look, like they live like a lovely, beautiful life. And I hope that it just kind of shows an almost like a normal side of being a member of the church. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
Well, I want also to know what helped you to stay grounded during all your hard times, hard months, maybe, or even years. I also would love to know a bit, how was your testimony maybe shaken, or your relationship with God? What held you to the church? Because, having going through that, maybe believing in what you believed was hard sometimes. Or what would you say maybe to someone that had this hard time as you did?
Yeah, I feel like I didn't do it perfectly or very gracefully. My faith was not always like the strongest through those times. And I feel like sometimes I even justified being lazy about certain things because, like, well, my baby died and God's not going to hold this against me because, like, I'm going through this thing. And I never went like totally off the rails. I mostly just kind of got lazy in my thoughts and just like my approach to the gospel. And it's interesting because there's things, having grown up in the gospel, sometimes I would have thought like, oh, if you do this, then like your whole life is going to fall apart. Like you gotta keep it together, keep those standards like so good. And if you were to like do this little thing, then like you'll ruin everything. Or like I didn't wear my garments, I could get in a car crash and die. Like just really rigid thinking that I think comes with like this lifetime of being in the church, that you have this perception that it's provided you so much safety. So then when you're at a time when you're not feeling as strong and maybe you decide to do something, I mean, I'm not like out there doing anything crazy, but just getting a little bit like not going to church on Sunday. Like, Are they going to keep me away from my baby because I didn't go to church on Sunday? Oh, I went out to eat on Sunday. Like just like little things like that. And I think I slowly got a little bit lazier with my like approach to the church and my relationship with the Savior. And what I found is like my life just slowly started getting worse. And because everything was like so slow and gradual, I feel like I didn't realize the like quality of my life really had started to suffer, and in all of these other little areas. And one day I just remember we were like financially in like a really, really tight, difficult place trying to figure out how we were going to make ends meet. And I just remember again having that little thought like, what if I just took like one step closer back to like the Savior in the church? Not that I had like veered way off, but I think my testimony really was at a point where it was starting to wonder like, is any of this really true? And I decided to kind of like, let's like really put it to the test, take one step closer and like see. And I feel like I took one step closer and like I would see a little miracle. And I took another step back closer. And as I took all these little incremental choices and steps closer, I just started seeing like all these miracles again. Life was happier again, and things started to make sense again. And I was just like overall happier. And kind of like I mentioned earlier, I think that's when I realized like the commandments really are a gift to us, not a burden. And like, this is actually the way I want to live. I want to start taking steps like closer to the Savior always, instead of seeing like how far I can get away before my life implodes. So, yeah, I think it wasn't perfect. I didn't go totally off the rails or anything, but I definitely like my mind was all over the place. And I definitely wondered for the first time in my life if any of it was true. And by taking those little steps towards the Savior is where I really kind of like reestablished my testimony. And I feel like it came back stronger and more like personal to me.
Yeah, for sure. And what I think, I think, first of all, thank you for being honest. I think most of the members and most of us go through a phase like that, like wondering, is this true or not? And I think this will help you, or I'm sure it has helped you already to understand people around you that might go to this phase. It's really important.
Yes. Yeah. I think I used to think about people, yeah, who left the church or struggled in one way, and having dealt with those own thoughts in my own mind, I have a lot more compassion for where they're coming from, and to not just dismiss them as not being faithful enough or whatever. And those are like big thoughts and feelings to have, to question things like this. So
For sure. And after all what you have walked through, what does faith look like for you right now, like today?
yeah, I think faith right now is really just hope that it's all going to work out, that just, here, that it's going to work out with my kids, that it's going to work out with my career, that it's going to work out with, after we all pass away. I think right now faith just feels a lot like hope, and just hope in like a very positive future, that like there is something beautiful ahead as well.
Awesome. Well, what I'm curious, also like personally, but I think many people will be too, how do you nurture your relationship with God? Because you're a busy mom, a content creator, someone who's still healing. Maybe you have calling, so it's very hard sometimes to have a close relationship with God. How do you do that?
Again, not perfect, far from perfect, but I think just turning everything off and just having moments where I can just be in my own thoughts, so I can actually hear God give me those little answers and speak to me, is huge. When the weather's nice, I like to go for morning walks And it's nice to listen to a podcast or like new music and stuff, but I really value just quiet time instead of blasting music when I'm cleaning my house. Sometimes just turning everything off and just letting yourself be in your own thoughts, I think has been huge for me to be able to find answers and get answers from God, is just turning everything off and giving God a moment to actually get through to me has been huge.
Yeah. That's quite a useful tip for sure. I just wanted to know, I'm very curious. Obviously, it's been so many years after you've returned from your mission. Are there any things about Albania culture or maybe food that you still miss and you talk about it with your family and friends?
Yes, I miss everything. The food, Albanian food was so good. You're in England right now. I visited England a while after, and I was like, the food here is terrible.
Agreed.
Like Albanian food is so good. Every once in a while, like my brain will want to call like the milk chumished or right chumished. Like sometimes like like that will come to my brain before like the English word, which is silly.
Yeah.
I will say I didn't love baklava. And this morning, I told my husband, I always think of baklava around Christmas time. And I'm like, I wasn't a fan of that. But I will tell you, this is one funny thing. So this time of year, also Christmas time, when the little mandarin oranges are out, my kids know. This morning I told them, oh, after church, I'm going to be on a podcast. Remember, Mom went to Albania. They're like, oh, yeah, the oranges. Every time I peel one of those open, it takes me right back to Albania. Like that smell, the taste. We would always throw a few of those in our bag when we were out being missionaries. So if we needed a snack, and those, I mean, they're never as good here as they were in Albania, but those little mandarin oranges, oh man, they like transport me to Albania every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there is some amazing food. I definitely agree with you. Something that comes to my mind is the gështenja or chestnuts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, the grilled corn or misri.
I never had that in Albania.
Okay.
I remember the guy who made it outside of like the Jami and Durrës.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating, isn't it? And then since we are in that topic, you know, because you've served in Albania, you know about the culture and everything in there. I'm just curious to know if you have any sort of words of advice and comfort to somebody who's been recently called to serve in Albania.
Oh, you are like jackpot. Like that is the best mission. And even my husband, who he served a mission and loved his mission, he went to Albania with me and he's like, wow, like you are so lucky. The culture, so cool. The history, so interesting. But like the people are so good. Like I just love the people. The Albanians like have a heart. When I was in Florida like 5 years ago, there was a lady and I could just like tell she was Albanian just by like her accent a little bit, but I was like, she's got to be Albanian. And then I said something. She's like, oh, yeah. And we talked in Albanian, my broken Albanian for a minute. But yeah, the people are so amazing. Anyone who gets called on a mission there, I'm so jealous. Oh, man. So good. They're in for it. It's so good.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's definitely a special mission. And for somebody, you know, coming from the United States, for example, it will definitely be a cultural shock to them, but they will end up loving it and probably wanting to go back. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. So before we go to the last question that we have prepared for you, I just want to give this time to you without putting you on the spot to share maybe a brief testimony where you can include as many or a few Albanian words as you can remember.
Okay, I don't know. Well, I'll just say I should have thought this through. We're like brushed up a little bit. But kam një dashmi shumë I fort që ati unë qilor edhe would you say mommy what would you say? Like an
Nëna
eternal mother?
qellore.
Huh?
Nëna qellore.
Oh, nëna qellore, që atë ka një dashur shumë I fort për ne. Like, I just really have a testimony of the love our heavenly parents have for us. Edhe që ne të gjithë jemi fëmijë, edhe ne nuk e dim dhe nuk kuptojmë sa I madh plani është. Am I even speaking Albanian? Like the plan is so big. We are just little children, and që ne duhet të kemi shumë besim që të gjithçka do të jetë mirë. Më në fund do të jetë mirë.
You did amazing.
I don't know. I'm embarrassed. I hope none of like the elders I served with listen to that. They'd be like, wow, Motra Rose. I really should do better. It's just been hard. And I'm going to listen to the podcast and the Albanian episodes. So one day I can converse better with Albanians.
Well, it's been a long time, really long time. But I'm because you always said, I know I'm not good in Albania. I forgot. So I was surprised. You were much better than you made me think you were.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, my grammar is not great anymore.
But thank you for sharing your testimony.
Thank you. And thank you guys. This was so nice to kind of remember everything again. I really have such a special place in my heart for Albania and all of you.
I'm so happy. Well, now we came to the last questions. We ask everyone about this. It's our main question. So
Okay.
I would love to know, Courtney, what does it mean to you to be a Latter-day Saint?
To me, it means that you have a lot of faith in things that we can't prove anymore. And I feel like in a day and age where you can get answers really fast and you can prove so many things, it means just being a Latter-day Saint means you're able to have faith in things that you maybe can't prove, but you're exercising faith and hope that they're all true based on experiences, and then just really holding onto those experiences and trusting that it's true, trusting yourself and everything else, that it's all true and that it's all gonna work out.
Thank you. It was so good for me to get to know you, and thank you for being like real, true, and open. That is very special. Thank you for sharing hard moments, beautiful moments. Thank you for showing us so many old picture of Albanians.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. You guys are great. And you guys are so amazing. And I think this podcast is so cool that you guys are doing this.
We appreciate it. Just in closing, Courtney, so obviously you were not aware of about this, but I've been sent something just recently, a short message that I want to share with you. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So it says, Dear Motra Rose, we met in 2008 and we were assigned to serve together in Durrës. I must say that I learned a lot from you, and I'm thankful that I was able to serve with a strong, compassionate, loving, caring, fun, and talented woman. I am grateful to God that I know you and I can call you a good friend. I know that you are loved, you are seen, and that you are one of the most amazing spirits that God has trusted with his most beloved children. Keep going strong and never change. Të kam John, Mirë Gjaferaj.
Aw, të kam John, Mirë.
Were you expecting this?
No, I wasn't. Oh, Mirë. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I love Mirë so much. Oh, that's such nice words.
Yeah.
She was so great. She was so patient with me. I can be stubborn.
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, in those sort of kind of words, I just want to thank you again for sharing your testimony with us and the experiences you've had on your mission, and for resonating your faith. Because from what I got from this conversation is that whatever happens in our lives, as long as we have faith and as long as we have eye single to the glory of God, then everything's going to be okay. Like you said earlier, Gjithçka do të jetë mirë. And I just think like that's kind of like the mode of your life, that you've been through so much, but with God, anything is possible. So thank you again for being here and for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. You guys are so lovely. Thank you so much for letting me blabber.
No worries. Right. We'd like to thank our guest, Courtney Rose Evans, once again, and you, dear friends, for watching this episode, number 70 of the shenjtore të Shqipërisë podcast. We'd like to thank our team for their support in making this episode possible. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any new episodes that we publish every week. If you'd like to participate in this podcast, you're welcome to send us a message on our social media. We're also on our email, sheshpodcast24@gmail.com. I thank you very much for tuning in on this episode, and we'll see you again next week with another guest. Bye bye. Mirë pafshim.
Mirë pafshim.